I am out on my nightly walk and I decided to do, I'm going to walk this way, a video because I've been thinking so much about veganism, how I've been in and out of different ways of eating. I don't particularly use labels. I don't necessarily call myself a vegan. I'm because I haven't been totally strict and I've transitioned in and out over the years. I first went vegan in would have been 2014, I think, and was vegan for probably high fruit based um, vegan, high rye for probably 4 pushes it and on everybody, which ironically is what I'll get labeled either way. So, oh well. Um, but my personal opinion is when someone represents a particular belief system that directly threatens your belief system that you feel or have been sitting in for most of your life, it can bring up aggressive feelings or heavy feelings of discomfort because it almost threatens your entire worldview. And it's easier to project your discomfort in that back on the person who is bringing up that shadow for you. It's really a shadow work. Um, Being vegan is a form of shadow work of a collective that is so ingrained in animal exploitation and consumption that they don't even realize the immense conditioning that they are living in. I mean, from birth, we are ultimately raised in a culture, and there are a few exceptions here and there of families that are raising their children vegan or vegetarian, or depending on religions, don't eat certain, don't eat pork, don't eat certain meats or whatever. But in general, culturally speaking, and this is even worldwide, many of us, most of us, have been raised within a culture that has taught us what a balanced diet consists of, and that is breads and grains and a little fruits and some veggies, more of the veggies, having enough protein in your meats, and balancing all of those different food groups. So that sticks in your brain. It becomes this second nature way of eating, way of living. And not only is it a way of eating, it is a way of connection with community, with family, within a culture. There's so many events and environments where food, the meal, is what brings people together. So it can also feel like a threat to community and your connection to others when that is threatened, what that meal or food is made up of. So, like, if you eat a completely different way, and I still battle that, especially being in Wisconsin, the majority of people eat the same. And funny enough, many people think that they eat healthy or there's so many people who think that they eat healthy or in general, but are still in such an ingrained mindset of what a truly healthy, not even just the surface level ideology of what healthy can be, what is truly appropriate, species appropriate for humans to consume and thrive on, not just to survive, not just something that we can consume that keeps us alive, but the foods that are really what help us thrive in vitality, not in sickness, not having to go to doctors and have medications to suppress symptoms, thriving without sickness. And there's a big difference. If you're on any type of, any at all, I would not consider you healthy. Um, if you are significantly overweight, you are not healthy. So it's become a very subjective perspective and belief on what is healthy, and it can be really contradictory depending on who you talk to. It's really dark right here, and it can feel like almost a threat to your own well-being or groundedness when someone comes to you with a completely different paradigm of belief that completely contradicts everything that you have come to understand about the world. And I say that as someone who initially went vegan, went high fruit, did detox, had benefits, but then ultimately fell back into eating the typical omnivore type diet because of many of the things I'm saying right now. Um, it was a direct conflict in my marriage. It was an issue, and once we got divorced, it was very difficult for me to maintain my way of eating while also trying to manage the divorce process and heal and try to take care of my kids and feed them well. And it was too much for me to even carry at that time. So I just kind of dropped it and fell back into what's comfortable. Eating a balanced meal, as we've been taught, is essentially what's comfortable. Um, but that doesn't mean it's what's right, it's what's best. And I see not even just vegan. I mean, I'm going to speak to it just as vegan in general, vegan, omnivore, carnivore, because there's different spectrums of each, whatever. I see veganism as a threat to a system that has thrived on the exploitation of animals. And we still kind of, there's many different nuances to that argument too of promoting local, raising your own animals that are helpful to move away from fast food meals or like really big and highly unethical farming practices. But simply being local does not mean better or healthy. Just because your meat was slaughtered at a local factory doesn't mean that it's a healthy meat. It might be better, but it doesn't mean it's healthy. It doesn't mean it's appropriate for you as a human to eat daily, let alone in multiple meals a day. And all of these are just little extension and nuanced discussions about how we eat and what's appropriate because it's hard to sift through all the different variables at hand. And I see many, I'm over the I'm over the animosity toward veganism and vegan people because everyone has the same argument. Everyone, no, bitching about meat eaters isn't going to make people change the way they eat, and not everybody is the same. Some people require meat. Not everybody can thrive on just being vegan. I call bullshit on all of it because I've been there. I've been there. I've been down all of those paths. I'm a type O blood type. I went through the blood type diet. According to all of that, I should be eating meat. According to the blood type diets, I shouldn't be able to be vegan. I should have to eat a certain amount of meat. Except I feel and heal when I'm not on meat. And I know it. And that's why I keep coming back to getting rid of meat and dairy. But knowing, having a knowing of what's best is one step. But then being able to put it into action in real time, every day, in the real world, where we are immersed in our emotions and real life experiences and confronted with temptations and situations every day that challenge how we eat and how we feel about our body, how we live in our body. It's extremely difficult to know what's best and do what's best. So you can know it all day. You can have the knowledge in your brain all day long. But until you put it to practice, start to live it, and be what you know is best, that's when you're going to see the changes. That's when alchemy unfolds. And your return to wholeness will take place. Because the reality is, we should not be experiencing illness and disease the way that we do as humans and the way that we have accepted it as normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. Just because it's accepted culturally doesn't mean it's right. And to be blunt, vegans are right. And I think when someone is challenged with a concept that hits something inside of them, makes them question themselves of maybe they are doing something not right, they will push back with anger because those are genuine emotions coming up. That's the shadow work. And it's real and raw, and it can happen in real time. And I always welcome those discussions with people. And I don't care what words you have to dismiss veganism or a frugivore way of living, because I have dabbled and studied in all the different ways of eating over a 15 to 20 year, when did I start? Probably 15-year time for 10, well, we'll say 10 to 15 years. And I've been through all of them, all different kinds of elimination diets. I've had so many different conditions come up in myself that I've battled and I don't want to say battled. I've had to face and address and work through and feel. Because at the end of the day, it is an embodiment. Your embodied action is what will lead you into the ideal way of eating. Eating shouldn't be the center of our days. Like, we have lifestyles that are centered and worked around our eating schedule. which is insane to me. Events, everything is worked around food. It's become this like central part of our culture. And worldwide, it's the same thing. And it's what brings cultures together, which there's a beauty in that, but there's also a sickness in that. Um, and it's a hard thing to pull the layers away, to find yourself beneath all of those layers, like peeling away the onion and realizing that an entire human civilization, essentially, is living a lie. And when you begin to question the lie, question what we have always have accepted as truths, there's so many truths that people accept without question that is just wrong. And our embodiment practice is about asking more questions. Why are we eating 3 times a day? Why? Who told us that's how we're supposed to eat? Who told us that we need to have 3 meals a day? What mechanism told us that that is needed? Why are we eating meat? Why are we making meals that are centered around meat and breads and grains? Those are survival foods. They're not species appropriate foods. They're not foods that we need, that we're required. That's what a lot of people miss. Eating foods for enjoyment is very different from eating the foods that our body specifically needs for hydration. And so we have main oxygenation and hydration that feeds our cells. And so much of what we consume dehydrates. Anything that's dehydrating your body is not helping you. So you're either regenerating or degenerating. There's no in between. So whatever you're doing is either supporting that cellular wholeness process, that healing regeneration of the cells, the regrowth that's happening on a regular basis. We should be eliminating and regenerating cells every day on a daily basis. If that's not happening, your body is degenerating. And that's where we get degenerative diseases, which is essentially most of them, honestly. And it all begins, all disease begins with a diet that is dehydrating you, dehydrates the cells, constipates the bowels, stagnates the kidneys, and the lymphatic system. And it all begins with what you're eating, how you're eating, how you're combining food. Food combination is another huge factor that is underestimated. And that's where I have found even being high fruit isn't always enough, because if you're still combining your fruit meals alongside other foods that are too heavy or are causing a fermentation process or an obstruction in your bowels, you're not cleaned out yet, and when you're eating, you're still adding fermentation to the digestive system, for example, or your bowels aren't moving properly and the intestines are still congested, and every time you eat, you're just adding more stuff, buildup, waste in the body. None of that is creating regenerative health. It's not creating longevity and vitality in the body. It's adding to the overload of waste. And when you see it, when you figure it out, it's hard to unsee it. But then to do better, to make the active changes that is a full reclamation of your body, feeling and sensing everything that's happening, and making the choices that serve your body the best is where you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. And all of this rambling is thoughts that I've been having, my own brain processing things because I've questioned myself over the years of whether vegan is right, raw vegan, fruit based, high fruit, mostly raw, vegetarian, pescatarian, omnivore, I've been carnivore, I was paleo. I had done all the things. I've been through all of them. I've done the high protein most of my life actually. I've been an athlete and athletic and active since high school. And even since high school, I had the push of protein powders, protein drinks, Gatorades, all that type of stuff since high school. And I think all of that is what contributed to the level of degeneration that I have experienced in my life. The amount of fungal and parasitic overgrowth that I've experienced, and the amount of parasites and mucus I am getting out of me now through the black walnut hull I'm taking, the pine, the echinacea. I'm mostly on the parasite formula at the moment. Today I got a pile of roundworms that came out. I've been doing enemas each morning, and each time I do an enema, I usually eliminate parasites before anything else, and it's shocking to say the least. And I didn't know if I believed the whole parasite thing for a while either. It just was kind of a trendy topic, and everyone talks about parasites and doing parasite cleanses. But here's the thing to note on parasites: we all have parasites, especially if you are a meat eater. If you eat meat, you have parasites, period. If you are experiencing symptoms of disease, you have parasite fungal overgrowth, guaranteed. Um, and I can pinpoint that pretty quickly among people now too. And that is where I think the parasitic and fungal formulas, it's kind of a mix. Black walnut hull in particular is great for clearing the intestinal tract of parasites and fungus of the body. It's a very powerful herb, and I've been enjoying it, using it, and experimenting with it. But man, does it get parasites out, and it can be shocking what comes out of you. And immediately, once I clear those out of me, I've had a lot of kind of bloating and IBS type symptoms over the years. Well, no, yeah, or more Crohn. I don't know. Um, what's it called? Leaky gut, subtle symptoms here and there. So many symptoms have been clearing away as I've been clearing parasites. And I am now convinced that the majority of disease is due to that parasitic overgrowth, and it progresses over time into other organ systems. It starts within the colon, and the intestinal tract, and it will progress from there and start to deteriorate your other organs. That is where you see the kidney weaknesses. That's where you see the lymphatic stagnation. That's where you see the liver issues. That's where you'll start to see the stomach issues as it works its way up your digestive tract, up into the esophagus, into the throat, and that's where the dental stuff then comes up. That's a progressed symptom of digestive issues as the teeth break down. It relates directly to the acidity of the stomach. Um, and this is all stuff I wish I had learned earlier. I wish I had known sooner. Before I'm turning 40 this year. Had I known this in my 20s or in my early 20s, I started to learn it in my late 20s, early 30s, and then divorce happened and things happened. I wish I had learned it sooner. But now I'm going through the process of my own, again, purification and healing so I can learn through my experiences and help guide others as a naturopath and detox specialist and herbalist. That's why I came into this work, because it's opposition of what we've come to accept as true and normal. And whenever you challenge the collectively accepted belief, you will always get pushback. You will always be that trigger, essentially. You're encouraging the shadow work, unintentionally, really. And it's the shadow work that not everybody is ready for. And you will often get animosity, pushback, um, projection from others who are not yet ready to look at their own actions. That's essentially where it comes from. The hate against veganism is people who are not ready to look at their own actions and see how it is affecting their health, the environment, the collective frequency, all of it. Because I believe there is a righteousness in veganism. And sometimes it's not just a spectrum of what you believe is right and wrong. Sometimes there is just right and wrong. And then there is that truth that either people are ready to see or continue to reject.